Hello friends. Oh god, wait. Something in my eye. Okay, let's start that again. Hey friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Zach, aka Crochet Me Zaddy, and I am a crochet pattern designer. I'm a good plushie maker and all-round crochet content creator person here on the internet. In today's video, we are looking at inventory planning for your market. So this is part 3 of my market prep series. We've already done one which was about how to prepare for your market, and then a second one which is how to price your items for your market. So I've got them both linked below if you're interested. For today's video, we're just gonna get straight into it and talk about how to plan your inventory for your next market. So what I'll show you in this video is what you need to know before you start planning, how to actually plan the inventory, and then I'll show you a quick setup of a spreadsheet on either like Google Sheets, Excel, numbers. They're all pretty much the same, but I'll show you how I set up my one just so you have an understanding of how to set up a pretty basic inventory planning spreadsheet. So I've got my notes here and I'm just going to run through them all with you all, and let's just get to planning our inventory. So for me, I like to approach my planning the same way I approach my pricing, which is I like to assign my prices or assign my items into different groups or different tier levels. You might be able to adjust this methodology for different prices and things for other products, but as plushies are my bread and butter, I'm going to be mainly talking about plushies and selling plushies at markets. Just as long as you are able to group items into certain areas and assign a time for how long each item or each batch of items takes, then you should be able to follow along with this methodology. For example, if you're creating candles or something, you have like 12 candles to every batch, you can probably adjust this to your your planning methodology. The first part of what you want to do is create a rough estimate for how many items you want to make overall. For me, I use the data from my previous markets, and if you don't have data from a previous market, or if this is your first market, don't worry, you can just create an estimate for yourself and create like a goal or a target of how many plushies or items that you want to make for that market. So when I looked at my old market stats, I saw that I had sold 50 items out of a total of 100 items from my last market. Now at that market, I actually reached out to the organizers to ask how much foot traffic came in over that weekend. And we had about 5,000 people come through. And because of that data, I'm able to actually calculate a rate of about 5,000 people means about 50 items sold. Looking at the stats of how big this next market is going to be for me, it's probably going to be about 15,000 to 25,000 people. So understandably, I'm going to need about 150 to 250 items made, but I'm just going to put my target at 250 because I think it's better to aim high and actually have an abundance of items to sell out of rather than to run out of items and not have enough for the market. So I'd rather overshoot than undershoot, you know? And yes, I do know that these seem like really large numbers. So if you are working in like a smaller farmer's market or something like that, then don't stress out too much because of the large numbers that I'm using. This is purely because I am doing a very large market, and I only do my markets like once, twice a year, and I bring like a giant bunch of items. So that's my situation. But if you're just doing like a monthly market or something like that, you just want to plan out for that, then you can just adjust the numbers here. But as long as you have an understanding of your items, what groups they are assigned to, depending on how long they take, how many items you'd like to make, then the rest of this should make sense. So now that I know that my estimated target of plushies or items that I want to make is 250, I need to now figure out how to divide my time across the different item groups. So for me, I actually divide my plushies into 4 different groups, A, B, C, and D, and these are dependent on how long each of those plushies takes to make. So items A, or group A, is 30-minute makes, group B is hour-long makes, group C is 3-hour-long makes, and then group D is for plushies that take 5 hours to make. And that's all just rough estimates, but that's all I can really do here. I don't know how long each item is going to take. There's so many different variables, so I'm just placing rough estimates across everything, but at least it's a start, and at least I can have a somewhat goal or estimation of how many plushies and how much focus I need to put in each one. You know what I mean? It's all about estimating. Hello, it is me, Editing Zach, and I just realized that I didn't fully explain why I have such a range of different prices or items, which is a good thing to have when planning out your inventory. The reason why you want to have a different range of prices within your items is because not everyone is going to be able to afford your larger hard-hitting items, and not everyone wants to just have like a smaller item. So you want to make sure you're catering to all types of audiences out there. There might be people who are coming to the markets and they just want like bits and bobs from each and every store. So they'll grab, I don't know, some earrings from one person, some candles from another person, and then they come to your store and say, oh, I can't actually afford your really cool dragons and chameleons, but I can afford your little keychain mushroom. So I want to invest in your store and your artwork, your craft, and therefore I want one of your small items. There are other customers out there who are wanting to come to these markets and find something that's really cool. So therefore they might see something that's in your store like a really cool dragon or chameleon, and they'll be like, oh my god, I love that item. I want to invest all the money I've brought along to this market in that one artist because I really like what they do. So you really have to make sure you're catering to all audiences and making sure you have a variety of items for all those buyers. So that's the reason why I split my items into these different groups and have a whole range, just because people want to invest in different ways. Now we can continue on with the video and how we organize our inventories. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our best friend on the internet here, which is ChatGPT or any other kind of AI bot, because they should be able to help you out. What you're going to do is you're going to put in this exact text. I'm going to put it below in the description so you can just quickly copy and paste it and adjust it as you will. But this is exactly what I put into ChatGPT to help me out with my inventory planning. Hello, I am a crochet artist who is selling handmade plushies. I am planning an inventory for a handmade market on July 12th. I plan to have made at least 250 plushies for this market. I have 4 different item groups ranging from A to D depending on how long an item in that group takes. A is for plushies that take 30 minutes to make, B is for blah blah, C, D, and so on. I would like to spend an even amount of time on each group when making these plushies. Can you let me know the total amount of plushies I will make for each group? You put that into ChatGPT, and then it takes a couple of seconds for it just to actually calculate everything, and then it should come out with a rough estimate of plushies across the different tiers. So the numbers that I've got here is Group A is 139 plushies, Group B is 69 plushies, Group C is 23 plushies, and Group D is 14 plushies. So with that kind of estimates, I can see like some targets that I could try reach across those different areas. So if I wanted to make 139 leggy froggies, I could, but that seems like a really high amount, and I don't want to have just a market stall that is just full of little keychains. For me, my bread and butter is these like larger plushies here. Like these ones here all take me around, I want to say 4 to 5 hours, so they're all my tier D. And I also already have about 40 of these ready to go to the market. So looking at these timings and things, I actually have some existing totals that I wanted to put in there. And on here, because it says 14 plushies to make for Group D, I'm gonna have to actually increase that somehow. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go back to ChatGPT and say either, yeah, that sounds great, or I can focus on certain areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, can you do these calculations again, but make sure there are a minimum of 40 plushies in both tier D and tier C, because I actually also have a large amount of those. Then it should show you another redistribution. The numbers that I've got here is Group A is now 100, Group B is now 70, and then Group C and D is now 40 each. So that gives me a rough idea of how many items I want to plan for each area. Once again, I'm not too sure if I want to make 100 keychains and then just have like a lesser amount of all the other ones, but at least it's an estimated target amount, and I can actually start planning my inventory towards those amounts for what I need to achieve as the goal target for a total amount of items to bring to my market. If you want to change up these different numbers and things, I would suggest playing around with ChatGPT and saying, hey, I need a minimum of this many items in this group, or the maximum of this group is 80 plushies. For example, if I wanted not 100 and 139 leggy froggies, I could say, hey, I only want 80 in Group A. Like that is my limit. Each tier level has to be capped at 80 plushies, and then I will divide my time equally across the other tier levels. So you can play around with it a bit more, but once you kind of have a number that you want to go with, then I would suggest just going with that and then get on to the next part, which is actually planning out your inventory. So this is when we get to go over to our friend Google Sheets or Excel or Numbers, whatever you want to use. It's all pretty much the same thing. So the way that I do this is I split this into 9 different columns. So the first column is our tier or our group, whatever items you want to call it. So that's our like A's, our B's, our C's, etc. Oops. let me just put that in there. We've got our item name, so I'm just gonna put kitty. Then we're gonna put in our quantity planned. Let's just say I wanna make 12 kitties. Then we have our quantity made. So different to our quantity planned, our quantity made is how much we actually made for the market rather than what we had planned for the market. So let's just say for this example, let's say I only made 10 in the end. Then we have our selling price. Let's say that this is going to be $30 per kitty. Let's say we have our planned sales. So now this is going to be the first of our formulas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go equal sign, and I'm going to go selling price, and put in a little asterisk, which is multiplied by the quantity planned. So once I do that, that comes up with $360. So as our planned sales, that's how much I would like to sell if I make all 12. Possible sales, what I want to do here is I want to go equal sign, selling price, multiplied by the quantity made. So if I sell everything that I have made, this is what I can actually possibly make on the day of the market. Then we have our amount sold, which I'm just going to put in 0 right now because we haven't actually sold any as of yet. And then I've got my actual sales, which is going to be our selling price multiplied by the amount sold, which of course is 0 because I haven't actually sold anything yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna briefly populate this with some other numbers and things, and once we get to the next part of the formulas, I'll show you how to put that in. Cool, so now that I've filled that out with some just random other items, blah, 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 and I've assigned them to different groups, and the sales prices should reflect those different groups, etc., etc. What I want to do is I can actually just drag the formula by clicking this little square and dragging it down. Ta-da! So what that should do, in theory, is it should just duplicate this formula across these different cells that the formula is affected by. So as you can see down here at the bottom here, it's now multiplied E10, which is $100 by the quantity plan. So I'm just going to do the same for the possible sales, and then again for actual sales. And voila! So in theory, we should see that it is correctly multiplied by what I've made and what I've got planned and the actual sales. So great. So the next part here is we actually just want to make our totals before we actually fully fill this out, because this is all just in theory right now. I don't know what I've made. I don't know what I've actually got planned. I need to see my overall totals of what I want to reach as the estimate that we've got before. So before I have that estimate, which was 250 plushies that I want to make, but what I need to know is how many of each group I can actually plan out and play with the numbers of each of those items, etc., in order to reach that overall total of 250. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up another section here, which I'm going to call totals. And then I'm just going to put in the different group names, A, B, C, and D. And then I'll put another one in here, which is overall. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to copy paste the titles just for the ease of it. And I'm just going to check them down here for me so I can see what I'm kind of working with. So now what I want to do is use a different formula, which is called the sum if formula. So if I go equal sign sum if, what I want to do is I want to find the sum of these totals here if they're from this group. So what I do is I actually go the sum of this group. So anything within this range, comma, that contains A, comma, will then show me the sum from this range. So anything from that first range that contains the letter A or is part of group A will then be added from the second range being the quantity planned. So I go enter, and what I can see there is, yes, as they add up, 12 and 12, yes, that means 24. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into that formula and I'm going to lock certain things. So to lock something, you can actually lock the letter as well as the number. So I want to lock everything. So I want it to keep it searching within that range of A and within those numbers of A to 10. So these things will stay, but then these things will change when it's dragged across. In theory, I am hoping I'm correct, otherwise we'll have to keep playing around with it. So now if I drag it across, bada bing, bada boom, there we go. So what it's done is it's now added in my quantity made, and it's made that. And now it's showing me the sum of these two here, which is beautiful. Showing me the sum of these two here, beautiful, and it's all correctly worked. So, yay! So now what I want to do is I want to do the same, but I want to drag it down and then drag it across again. So if I go down one, what it is doing here is giving me another number, but the thing is it's changed the range that it's within. So here it's saying C3 to C10. So it's actually still doing that range there, but this one here is now changing that range to be from C4 down to C11, which is not what we want at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the formula. So this one I wanted to say beep. And you can see here it's locked in the right ranges there, but now it's got the wrong ranges up here. So I want it to keep it in C3 to C10. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lock in those two numbers there. So I won't put the little number sign before the letters because that's going to lock the entire piece to be within the C column, whereas I want it to automatically change across D, E, F, G, H, so on and so forth. So that should correctly change it there. So now it should be showing me the total of anything that has B in it because I've changed that letter there. And then it's showing me the sum there of those two. So that's perfect. So in theory, if I drag it across again, bada bing, bada boom, that looks good. What is this? That adds up to 900, yep. 360 and 450, yep, 810, perfect. So now what I can do again is I can actually just copy and paste rather than dragging down, and I'll change that letter to C. So it should say C, it should have the dollar signs, go enter, cool, drag it across with those dollar signs now included, locked in those numbers, and voila! Check those all make sense, yep. And once again, I'll do that again. Control C, Control V. Find my little dollar sign. Oh, find my number. Find my letter. Make sure it's correct. Enter. No, what is it doing? Trying to add in a suggested thing. Don't do that. Just go with what I want. Don't follow the suggestions. Now if I drag that across, bada bing, bada boom. And there we go. 8, 200, 400. Yeah, it's all looking good. So now, in theory, if I start changing these things around, it should start playing around with the numbers down here. Oops, don't do that, chuck in the right numbers. Perfect, cool. So now it's time to do that. What I want to do is I want to see my overall totals so I can start planning even more properly. So this one's a bit easier. All you want to do is, well, it's giving me a automated sum there. It's asking if I just wanted to get the sum of my totals, which is exactly what I want. So that sounds good. So I can see I've got 64 plushies there. Drag that across. It's going to duplicate that across, just changing that column letter. And there we go. We have all our totals. So I can now calculate how many dolls I've got planned, how many I've actually got made. It's going to give me the selling price, which I don't really care about as a total, but whatever. And then it's going to give me my planned sales for how much I could achieve if I make them all and sell them all. It's going to give me my possible sales of what I actually have made and then if I sell them all. And then it's going to give me my actual sales. So let's just chuck in some numbers here. Let's pretend I've had my market and let's say I actually had, where is it? 10 kitties. Let's say I sold 8. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. And let's say I sold 3 of my bats and 2 dragons. There you go. I can see now my totals. So all sorted. Hello, it's Editing Zach again, and I thought I'd just give you a quick tour of what I've actually made as my final inventory planning spreadsheet. So you just get like an insight of what I've actually done from starting off from where we started off. So what I've done here is I have clearly just added in a bunch of different items. I've grouped them into the different tiers, A, B, C, D, And then I just started chucking in numbers planned of what I would like to make. So you can see here, I've just been like, cool, let's make 6 of every one of these B tier items, or 3 of each of my C tier ones. And because I've got all the totals down the bottom here, I can actually see what I've actually made. As you can see, I've made a lot of the larger buddies already, which is what I mentioned earlier, that I've already got 40 of them. And that's shown here in the totals. So now that I've been able to give myself just like a rough estimate of what I've got planned, I can see that it all adds up to 250 or 251. I've also got all these different totals here of what I've ended up with my rough estimates, which kind of matches what I got from ChatGPT. And then I can see what I've actually got planned in for sales if I manage to make everything and sell everything, which if I sell all of that, 15 grand would be so lovely. But right now I can only make just under 7k if I sell everything that I've got now. So, I mean, that'd also be really lovely. So I've clearly got a bit more work to do, but the fun thing here is now that I can actually add on some filters and whatnot, so I can get rid of these. I can just look straight at my A tier if I just want to have like a closer look and just play around with that. Or I can filter it down to, I don't know, let's just look at my D tier. And yeah, I can see everything I've got there as well. So all very exciting, and it works really, really well. It's a very, very basic spreadsheet, and I hope you all find it useful. Yeah. And that's that. So I hope you all found that very, very helpful, very, very useful. I think I covered everything with how I go about planning for my inventory for my upcoming markets. The cool thing with that is once you've actually finished with that spreadsheet, you can update it as you go. You only need to build the spreadsheet once. And once you've got that, all you need to do is just like update it with new items and new groups and things like that. But as long as you've got that, you've got the basics of creating a little inventory market planner for yourself. If you really enjoy this kind of content, please let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to give me a like, a comment, and a subscribe, as it is really, really important to me to get your engagement out here. I am almost full-time doing this as a content creator, and I have you to thank for that. I also have a very special thanks for everyone in my Patreon, because without them I wouldn't be able to achieve this. If you are interested in Patreon, I have a lot of pattern subscription bonuses, community bonuses. What else is there? There's Patreon podcasts, exclusive content, all that kind of jazz. So definitely go check it out. I've got a link below, and I just want to extend a huge thank you to everyone who is already in my Patreon family, because you mean the world to me, and I just cannot thank you enough. So hey. The next video is going to be about displays and market displays, and how do we set up for a market in the most efficient way, and how to really engage with customers and make sure that they're coming over to your store with a lot of tips and tricks. So be on the lookout for that one, because I am bringing in my secret weapon. Or he might not be in the video, but he provides a lot of insight on actual visual merchandising and all those things, because that's his job. So yeah, it should be a good one. So don't forget to put that little bell symbol on so you know when the next video is out, and I will see you all on the internet somewhere, either on Instagram or Threads, or I don't know, wherever you follow me. So have a good day. No, so have a good day, night, dawn, dusk, whatever time it is for you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hey. God, I hope that recorded the screen recording, because I cannot do that again.